All right, so if you've been following the channel, you know that we've got this vehicle, which is not moving. And we've got this one, which is not moving. And both of them need to be worked on, which begs the question, how do you get them up a steep driveway? All right, so this is how I intend to get that Tahoe up that driveway into the garage. This is a Smitty-built 9500, and I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh my God, that's such overkill. And you'd be right, but I don't care about overkill. This task could potentially kill somebody, and a little bit of overkill is okay with me. The other thing is I had several criteria for my winch. Number one, I wanted overkill. Number two, I wanted something that had nothing but great ratings. My other criteria is that from the back of my garage to the bottom of the driveway where the Tahoe is currently sitting is 86 feet. So I needed something that was very beefy with a lot of cable. And this one essentially just met all my criteria. It had a long enough cable, it was beefy enough, it had great reviews, and oh, by the way, it was on sale when I bought it. So to those of you who are thinking, oh my God, he's so stupid, he got, I don't care, you know? There are times when you don't cheap out, and safety is certainly one of them. So yeah, it's overkill. I don't care, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I splurged 50 bucks and got this big piece of metal because I love the fact that it's got this front-facing piece already on it and that I don't have to weld it together. So anyhow, the winch is going to go here, and then the other 8 bolts are going to go into the concrete using these guys. 3/8 by 3 3/4 stainless wedge anchors. So that's what those are, and we're going to need a... Oh, I grabbed the wrong one for video purposes, but I've got another one of these that's 3/8 that we can go into the concrete with. So, but my problem is these are intended to go on like a bumper of a Jeep, where a bolt would come up from underneath the bumper and be affixed to this piece right here. So if this thing is going to be on the floor, it's not going to be flush. I'm going to need about that much. So I figured I'd get another piece of metal that's the exact same width as the head of the bolt, and then that way it'll still be able to sit flush on the ground. My plan is to cut 5 inches on this side, cut 5 inches on this side, and then only use this piece and this piece under those holes and those holes, and leave the middle with room for bolt heads. So now I'm going to cut some metal. I'm going to cut some metal, iron dress from head to toe in heavy clothes. I got my safety gloves on, I got my safety goggles on. I still don't know what I'm doing, but at least I'm being safe about it.
Yeah.
So I got the freshly cut piece of metal underneath, and I just lined it up where I want it, and I'm holding it down so that I can go ahead and drill. Alright, so I stripped the paint where the welds are going to be. Alright, so next morning, here's where we're at. I painted it bright yellow because I have a tendency to trip over things. This is going to be on the floor in the garage. So you can see the original plate, which is this piece right here, and it is sitting on top of those pieces of metal that I welded to it, and it leaves a little bit of space. And living in that crevice right there will be the bolt heads that are going to be anchoring the actual winch down. So that's kind of where we're at right here. Alright, so after determining the exact halfway point between the lift posts and figuring out all my angles, in short, I figured out where I want this thing to be in the ground, and I just marked circles with a pencil, and now I'll be ready to start the process of drilling my holes in the concrete. Alright, so when I ordered my winch, I also ordered these 3 by 3 1/4 stainless wedge anchors online. I realized that they're not long enough. So I went to the store looking for some 4 1/4s or 4 1/2s, and they didn't have them. So I got these 3/8x5s. They may be too long. I looked at the directions for these guys, and I'm glad I did, because you actually have to drill 1/4 of an inch deeper than you intend to go. I did not know that. And the other thing I need to keep into consideration is what's sticking out on top. And the reason for that is because, look, the motor's right here, and I need to make sure that this isn't so high that it either collides with the motor or impedes my ability to get the washer and the nut on. So I need enough clearance here to get the nut on, which I've given myself about, I don't know what that is, maybe 1/4 of an inch, something like that. So this is essentially where I want it. So this measurement right here shows what I need to drill underground. And it looks like I'm at about just shy of 3 3/4. So the holes that I need to drill are going to be just shy of 4. So I'm going to drill my holes 4 inches deep to give me that much room on top, make sure I can clear the motor. And in order to drill into the concrete, I've got both 3/16 and 3/8 masonry bits, and I'm going to be using a hammer drill to put my holes in the concrete. And over here, I've measured where I want my holes to be, and I'm probably going to do that one and that one first, and hopefully, if those are lined up, then the rest of them will line up. And I'm also going to get shot back, because you need to suck all that debris out of the holes before you try to put your anchors in there. All right, so in order to determine how deep I need to drill, I put the tape at 1 tick shy of 4 inches, and I will just drill until I get to that depth and stop drilling. So having anchored in the 2 opposing corners, my thought process is that the rest of them will line up. But again, I'm going to start with the outside and work my way in. And here's the test fitting of all of them. Everything's where I want it to be. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going really slow, and I keep putting this big yellow piece on here to realign it, to make sure that I can get it on and off, because obviously it's going to have to come off to put the winch on it. So, okay, now that I've pounded them all in, I hope and pray that they're not bent so much that I can't get the yellow piece off. And that's what I'm going to do right now, is try to get the yellow piece off. All right, so here I am midway through the installation process of the winch itself. You get a choice of whether you want this to go over the motor or whether you want it to go over here or sideways, a bunch of different options. So you got a bunch of different brackets here. I went ahead and installed it this way, and now I'm getting ready to do the electrical, and then it'll be ready to go onto its big yellow piece, and then the big yellow piece into the ground, and should be good to go. And checking out the electrical connections, they've got big letters on all the wires, and then they've got big letters on the corresponding places where they go. So hopefully I won't be able to mess this up. All right, so the wiring's done, and so in typical fashion, I got everything on, not realizing that they came with these nifty little boots. So I took everything off and put the nifty little boots on, and there they all are with their super nifty little boots. So there's that. Now I hope it fits on the L thing. All right, so judging by this clearance right here, I'm going to go ahead and assume that I'm supposed to install the front side piece first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, test fitting once again, and I am going to mount the front plate prior to mounting the winch. And the front plate has a name, but I don't know what it's called. All right, she's on. Now it's time to put the big sucker on there. So glad I painted it. All right, so after tightening all the nuts down, we've got it installed. And the only thing left to do is to see if it's going to work. All right, so in the event that the driveway is sloped too much and the cable drags against the concrete, I'm going to go ahead and weld this piece onto the other metal piece so that the cable can float across instead of dragging on the concrete. Oops. I forgot the video. Let's do it again. No. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and call this a complete success. The Tahoe's in the garage. Nobody got killed. And we actually didn't even have any remote mishaps. All right, so like, comment, subscribe, because a lot of videos to come. We're going to put a 4L80 in this thing for starters, and then a turbo after that. Very exciting.